What I'm about to do, I do because I have to.
That's exactly how I feel reviewing this movie, because it's one of the most depressing things I've ever seen. Hey guys, it's Sean O'Connell, the managing director here at CinemaBlend, with a review of the new Netflix film that's hitting the streaming service called The Devil All the Time. It's by director Antonio Campos, and it's based on a best-selling book of the same title by Donald Ray Pollock. I'm going to avoid spoilers, because I know that with the likes of Robert Pattinson, Tom Holland, Sebastian Stan, all these different actors that you tend to follow, you might be curious to see what this is all about. Before I get into the review, do me a favor, go down and hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and then that way, every time that we post a new review here on CinemaBlend's YouTube page, you guys can come over and watch it.
It's the best present I ever got. Thank you.
I have to start with the cast, because the ensemble put together for The Devil All the Time truly is spectacular, and it's a lot of actors who we know from blockbuster type films who are absolutely playing against type. Starting with Tom Holland, who is the main character in the movie, who doesn't necessarily show up until later, because we track his character, Arvin Russell, from a little boy until the point where he's grown into Tom Holland size. It takes place in the rural Midwest during the 1950s, and it's just a depressed time. Soldiers are coming back from the war, families are trying to get their way through some really tough economic times, and the movie centers on Tom Holland's character, Arvin, as he sort of makes his way through a really difficult situation, a really difficult life situation, where the odds are sort of stacked up against him. The movie takes a step back and talks about religion and the way that religion sort of influences communities in the Midwest. And the reason why religion is such an important part of this life is because of a new pastor who has come to town, played by Robert Pattinson. And it's the allure that this pastor casts over the entire community, particularly Arvin's adopted family, because he's an orphan. They are deeply religious and fully believe in everything the pastor is saying, even though Arvin can kind of spot the fact that the pastor might be a bit of a phony.
Excuse me, preacher. You got time for a sinner?
And the movie does poke a lot of holes through organized religion. We also follow, though, a ton of other side characters who do sort of come in and out of Arvin's universe, and I want to touch on them without sort of giving away how they interact with him. But you see people like Sebastian Stan, who is playing a corrupt police officer who has a number of different investigations sort of going on that put him in touch with both Arvin and Robert Pattinson's pastor. You have this bizarre couple played by Keough and Jason Clarke, who go around recruiting people for a series of photographs that they are taking that end up being really, really compromising for everybody involved. And you have Bill Skarsgard and Mia Wasikowska, who interact with the story in different phases of the time periods. They play really significant parts, and it's great to see them sort of coming into their own, playing against type, digging into these really dark characters and exploring some really difficult material. And while it was great to see this cast really dive into the subject matter, I just felt that the subject matter left a lot to be desired, and I want to get into that in our next section. Okay, the word that I would use if I could describe The Devil All the Time in one word only is bleak. And I understand that sometimes Hollywood filmmakers want to make stories that are really dark and depressing and challenge the audience to sort of recognize some of themselves in this dark material. And listen, this has been the fertile playground of authors for generations. And I'm talking like Flannery O'Connor, John Steinbeck, like these authors who really celebrated the human struggle, especially for people in the Midwest and the Deep South. That's exactly the type of themes that The Devil All the Time gets into. Like I said, sort of poking holes through the idea of organized religion, commenting about the way that the law can be manipulated by people in power, really pulling the envelope back or pulling the curtain back on the way that people who are in deep poverty get manipulated because they might not be smart enough or wealthy enough to sort of keep up with societal norms. All of these things are explored in The Devil All the Time, but just in the darkest, most physically disturbing and emotionally taxing ways. And so there are times when you're sort of watching through the narrative and you know where it's going to go, or you can kind of predict where it's going to go. And you almost say to yourself, man, I really hope that you don't go down this avenue because I'm just not comfortable as a viewer to watch you do it. Well, the movie almost every single time takes that left turn or right turn into the really dark and somber avenues by design. Again, it wants to provoke. It really wants to push our buttons and single out ways that a seemingly innocent character in Tom Holland's Arvin can be pushed to the breaking point in numerous different places. And when is he going to lose his touch with his own humanity? It's a fascinating subject. It just makes for a really uncomfortable sit.
When people look back on it, they'd had no other choice.
Heard me sort of say that I'm setting this movie up to say that it's a brutal sit, and it is, but you're still curious. I get it. You want to see Robert Pattinson as this seedy, sort of sleazy backwater pastor, and you want to see what Tom Holland can do outside of the Spider-Man suit, and I get it. I think that that's all fantastic, and it's on Netflix, and if you want to put it on and strap in for a brutal 2 hours, then do so. But what I'm saying is, ultimately, I just can't recommend this. Like, when people always ask me all the time, like, hey, what's a good movie to watch? If I told them The Devil All the Time, and they went and checked it out, they would come back to me and be like, what's the matter with you? And I would try to say, like, no, the performances are really strong, and the script brings up some really interesting ideas about poverty and organized religion, and it's just not what casual audience members are looking for, even though you're going to see these blockbuster names like Robert Pattinson, Tom Holland, Sebastian Stan, Bill Skarsgård, Mia Wasikowska, Jason Clarke's a great character actor, Riley Keough's coming into her own. All of these great people together, but they're in service of a extremely dour, brutal, emotional, crippling, depressing, bleak story that is set up that way by design. So I can't fault the movie for wanting to tell that story, and it successfully does that. And using the narration, there's a narration by the author of the book that the movie is based on, and it's one of the few times that a movie uses narration to its advantage. Every time he sort of chimes in on what's going on in the action, he tells you a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes and what's in the mindset of the characters that we're watching, and it really, really helps.
Some people would say it's just dumb luck. Others would tell you it was God's plan.
So when I say I can't recommend it, it's just really hard for me to say that, yeah, you should totally give yourself 2.5 hours of your time to endure The Devil All the Time, because that's what it becomes. It's an endurance. You're not climbing up a hill to get to a bright and sunny happy ending. It's one of those ones that just sort of steadily declines into madness. And if that's what you're looking for, then you got this one waiting for you on Netflix. So now the difficult part. If I had to give The Devil All the Time a star rating, I would go 3 stars out of 5. I thought the performances were really strong. The story was interesting in some of the points that it brought up, but it's not like it was really blowing the doors off in terms of originality. I think it's some stuff that's been explored in other material, though it was really fascinating to see actors like Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson test themselves and push the envelope in terms of what we expect from them. Pattinson's been doing that for a really long time. Tom Holland hasn't had a chance to do that yet, and this movie shows that he will have a future like this once he's finished with the blockbuster stage of his career, and he's so super young and has the world ahead of him. So, but for this one, I'm going 3 stars out of 5. I just think the material is too bleak for me to fully recommend, and if you do want to give it a try, even still, Godspeed, but be prepared for what you're getting into. When you do see it, if you decide to give it a shot, come on back here, hit the comments down below. Let me know if you agree with me or not. Let me know if maybe I'm overselling the bleakness of it, but I'm telling you, it hit me and stuck with me for a long period of time. While you're down in the comment section letting me know how you feel all about Netflix's The Devil All the Time, I want you guys to hit subscribe and turn on your notifications, because every time we post a video here on CinemaBlend's YouTube page, I want you guys to come on over, watch it, interact with us, and have a great time.